Hello, welcome back to Mr. X Calendar. I'm Arthur, and today we're doing a sword review of the Honshu Boshin Katana. I think that's its full name. Honshu is actually a brand of, or it's actually a line of edged weapons being put out by United Cutlery. United Cutlery is probably best known, at least by me anyway, as the company that puts out all the production models of Gil-Hibben knives. If you are watching this, you probably are familiar with at least the name. Gil-Hibben's done a lot of stuff when it's come to the movies, like the Expendables movies, the Rambo movies. That's due to his association with Sylvester Stallone. Did a lot of the knives for those movies. Here are a couple examples of the Honshu knives. This one is their toothpick model, and nice big wide blade here. This is a really nice knife. The handle, some people online have complained it being really too long. I think it really makes for a really nice maneuverable knife that is, you can use this in, for fighting. It really makes actually a very, very nice ergonomic feel to it. And that's what they're getting known for, this heavy rubberized feel to it. It's not solid plastic, so it hurts your hand, but at the same time, it's got just a little bit of give to make it really nice and comfortable. So that's one example from their knives. Here's another one. You can see reviews of these on the internet. In fact, I'm going to be actually splicing in a bit of this one guy who's in Europe somewhere who likes to review a lot of the Honshu line of stuff. But this is another one that's gotten pretty popular on the internet. This is their Spartan sword. This thing's a lot of fun. I might actually do a review of this thing at some point. But here's the big difference. This small sword and this big knife are essentially made of stainless steel. I believe the kind of stainless steel it is 7CR13. 13? Yeah. And this one, I believe, is the same thing. Yeah. 7CR13. It is a Chinese steel, known for its very high chromium content. They've added some other elements into it, making it a really tough alloy. Some critics have said that the alloy isn't that much different than the old 440 stainless steel that you used to see in knives all over the place. In fact, Gil-Hibben used to use that steel. But I'm getting off track here. This has been undoubtedly United Cutlery's forte, and that is their knives.
The stats on the Honshu Boshin Katana are that it is made of a 1060 high carbon steel. The saya or scabbard is made of wood, although it does appear to be covered by a kind of a plasticky kind of shell, although there is wood underneath. The handle is made of what they call TPR textured rubber, and essentially it's the same kind of heavy rubbered handle that they have on their Honshu Boshin knives. The 1060 steel is a nice compromise between some of the lighter high carbon steels and some of the heavier carbon steels, giving you kind of a nice compromise. And so it does do rather well as a blade material for this sword at this price point.
This sword has taken an absolute beating on the internet, in my opinion, somewhat unjustifiably. And I will tell you why. If you have not looked up this particular weapon yet, or been interested in, maybe you're clicking on this just to see what you can expect with this. This sword is 120 bucks. And actually there are some coupons that you can get depending on what site you buy it on, where you can get it for less than that. And that has led to a lot of debate on various YouTube reviewers as to whether or not this thing is really actually worth that. Is it worth 120 bucks? In my opinion, the short answer to that question is yes, it's worth 120 bucks. No more. It's not worth any more than that. But at the same point, to its credit, it's not worth any less. And I think it's at this point, let's take a look at some other people's opinions about this and how they have tested how this is made up, how this is performed. So let's take a look at that now.
Alrighty, so here I am trying out the sword, just to give you kind of an idea of how this thing feels. Believe it or not, for the kind of sword that it is, it's got a 30-inch blade on it, so it's pretty heavy in the hand. I do like to wear gloves, especially with this kind of sword where it doesn't have an actual Sageo wrap on the tsuka, the handle. So I wanted to make sure that I had a good handle on the sword. We've got some just standard bottles here as far as what I've got. I've got the milk bottles, we've got the juice bottles that tend to be a little bit heavier, and yeah, good first swing there. Knocked the top off, but as you guys are going to hear from me later on, the blade really doesn't really cut through a lot of these heavier plastic bottles, more along the lines that just kind of just bashes through them. I have to say that was kind of my experience with some of the heavier plastic bottles. You have to excuse my rusty skills here as far as some of the cutting. Still working on it. As I'm calling this, as actually I saw this in another video. This is what they call bottle shigiri as opposed to tomo shigiri. But that last bottle, it actually cut. This is one of those tiny little water bottles that just, you can plow right through it. It's pretty good. The 1060 blade is actually pretty good for a sword like this because it's going to be reasonably tough, especially for the price point that this is. And here we go with just our standard milk bottle. Going to plow right through it. Didn't have any problem, stabbing. And of course, milk bottles are pretty easy to punch through. That's why it's fun. So, and swing, and then I didn't even cut the top off. So, and then we took a hack at this last one here, and whack, the way it went. One thing that I am going to talk about in all my videos is proper sword care, and this is actually something I'm going to show in all my cutting videos, and that is that you really need to make sure that if you're going to do bottle shigiri in your backyard, then what you need to make sure is that you've got some kind of lubricant, some kind of oil readily available in your backyard, so that you first wipe off the water, which for these swords, and they're all high carbon steel blades, all these reviews, including this one, it may be kind of a low budget sword, but still got a carbon steel blade, which means you leave water on it, it will rust. I actually use just common WD-40. It's a nice solvent to just kind of clean off and oil it, and then pop it back into the scabbard.
As you can see, even after my shot with it, the opinions on this are all over the place. Some people think it's an absolute piece of junk, not to be bothered with. Other people say that, wow, this is just amazing for what you're getting. My opinion is somewhat in the middle of that, and that is, and this is something I've actually commented on in a couple different people's reviews of this, some of which you saw snippets of just now, and that is, I think the best thing I can say about this sword, this tactical-ish kind of katana, is that it is, you're getting your money's worth. No more, but no less. And I think that's important. The one thing I will say that I was disappointed with when I first got this was the actual sharpness of the blade. It's got a very rudimentary edge on it. And basically the way they ground the edge is the same way they ground these knives. And that is, you have a straight grind here, or a hollow grind like you see here, That's the primary bevel, and then of course they go in later and they put in another bevel, and that's the actual cutting edge. When it comes to a real katana, or how a katana actually should be ground, or made, tempered, hammered, smithed, forged, whatever terminology you want to use, that's not the way it should be done. What they could have easily done, and it probably wouldn't have changed the price point very much, was they could have ground this all the way down so that there would be only a single bevel, and that would have given it a much more serviceable edge. At the same time, though, they were making this for, they knew exactly, I think United Cutlery knew exactly the market that was going to go after this sword, and this is not your competition cutter. This is not something that someone's going to take and do some nice tamashigiri cutting with, and they're going to go back and demonstrate this for the world with this sword. I don't think so. If it's something that fits in your price range and that's something you're looking for, enjoy. Some of the harsher reviews you've seen on YouTube regarding this particular katana, I think are a bit unjustifiably rough. Again, this is $120, and in some cases less than that. You're not going to get your Musashi folded steel, tamahagane steel made katana. It's just not going to happen. This is what it is, and I think United Cutlery knew exactly what they were doing when they made it the way they made it and how they're marketing it. So take a look for yourself. Comments down below or off the side or however you're viewing this are always welcome. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Enjoy.